Most drummers are making at least one of these 5 common mistakes, and it's probably that one that's killing most of your progress. I've been teaching for over 25 years and I see these mistakes happen again and again and again. They stop your speed, they kill your sound quality, and worst of all, they end your progress. Now the good news is, they're all fixable. Let's get stuck straight in. The slice. What is a slice? A slice simply means instead of the stick going straight up and down, which will be the most efficient way we can hit a drum head, instead we're slicing the stick across the head. So it's either coming across this way, or maybe it's going outwards. How do you know if you're doing this? Well, you can either have a camera in front of you or a mirror, and you can face this angle here so you can see straight down the stick, and what you'll see is when I play, you can see the stick either going straight up and down, or you'll see that slight slice inwards, or that slice going outwards. Well, why is this important to us? Well, if I take a ball and I bounce this ball on the drum head, the energy is going straight down and most of it is coming straight back up, and that's what we want with a stick. If I start to throw the energy slightly sideways, the energy is dissipating the other way, and it means we have to then throw it back. Well, the same thing is going to happen when we've got a stick. If we're wasting energy throwing the stick to the side, even if it's a slight amount, we have to then have a certain amount of tension to bring it back up. So we're just being inefficient. How do you fix it? Well, it's most often down to one of 2 things. It's either your palm position here needs adjusting so that you're either slightly further that way, in my case, slightly further this way, look, I've got to get that just right, or it can be our thumb and our first finger position, because the fulcrum that we create when we're holding this, the stick can be affected by me putting my thumb lower or higher. If I put it lower, the stick's more likely to go this way. If I put it higher, more likely to go that way. These are small, fine things, fine details that you need to figure out, and the only way to fix it really is to look in a mirror or record yourself and keep adjusting it. Same thing with the left hand, exactly the same issue. Another thing that we can do to help ourselves know we're doing this, if you take your other stick and we put it straight up in the air and then we play next to it, we can use that as a bit of a reference. So if I'm hitting the stick, I'm definitely slicing. If I'm going outwards, what I'm looking for is that to go straight up and down. Let's get into mistake number 2. Pulsing of our rolls. In drum corps, we're after a machine gun-like effect. We want every note to sound exactly the same. What we sometimes find though is that one of the hands is pulsing, playing louder than the other one. If I pulse my right hand, you'll hear. Maybe my left hand pulses. Now the culprit is most often where drummers are not playing the same actual physical heights. So something I do is I get my students to put some luminous tape around the end of their sticks so they can physically see a little easier the height of the sticks. The other thing that I'm going to try and get them to do is to understand how to play it badly. Once you understand the incorrect way, you've got a better chance of playing the correct way. So what we do is we purposely pulse our right hands. Then we slowly drop our right hand to be quiet. Then we bring our left hand up, and then we go back the other way. So I'm purposely pulsing. The other thing that I try and do is I try and play everything at one height but still pulse, because that sometimes happens. Now by doing that, then when you play your rolls, you've got lots of references to think about to be able to play them much cleaner. Mistake number 3, incorrect tap heights, or no tap heights at all. That's when people look like this. All of the taps are being played pretty much the same height as the high notes. How do we stop this? Well, one of the things you've got to learn how to do is to be able to tense, which I know is a bad word normally in drumming, and release. Now the reason we're going to talk about this is there's a slight squeeze when I hit the drum. If I hit the head and I don't squeeze, I let it bounce back up, that stick's coming all the way back up to here. If I squeeze, the stick's going to stop. But here, I'm squeezing way too much and the stick wants to press into the head. So what we actually use is, rather than just squeezing with our front fingers here, we're also using the back fingers. Now when I say squeeze, there is the tiniest amount of tension placed and then instantly released to stop the stick. The longer you hold that tension, the worse this is going to be. So what you're really teaching yourself to do here is to be able to release the stick. When I hit the head, I'm trying to stop it instantly after it's hit the drum. So what's happening is as I hit the drum, the stick goes to bounce back up. What happens is instead it hits my back fingers here, and the slight squeeze just takes the pressure enough that it can instantly stop. When you first start this, you'll see you'll get a little bit of rebound. The longer you do it, you'll be able to stop the stick instantly. Now, back when I marched Blue Devils, we used to play everything pretty much like 12 or 15 down to 1 inch or 3 inches. Sometimes you're going to be coming from lower. So we need to be able to practice these at all different heights. The best way of doing that, I just practice one hand at a time. If I'm playing 4s, I'm going to do a downstroke, 2 taps, and an upstroke. Down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up. But again, the down is the key. I've got to stop that stick and release that tension, play those other notes. Exactly the same for my left hand. Now, mistake number 4 is one that I'm trying to fix. Sometimes drummers find that they don't play in the very middle of the head. Why is that a problem? Well, first of all, it makes a different sound. And secondly, it means you're not doing the same thing with your right hand and your left hand. And so we start to get our problem of pulsing even worse. If you look at my practice pad here, where it's been worn down, if you look at from the front down, you can see that it's worn down a lot more here than it is over here. And you can see that those 2 points are the 2 points I'm hitting. So this is my right stick, this is my left stick. Well, there's a problem there, isn't there? Because the telltale signs on my practice pad that actually most of the hits that I'm doing, the right hand's further forward than the left hand. And you might even be able to hear there, there's a slight difference in pitch. So what we're trying to do all the time is put our beads right next to each other. Now, I play a lot of stuff where I'm doing backsticking, and so I tend to hold this stick a little bit further down than most drummers would, which is probably what's causing my hand to come further back. So if I'm doing drum corps, well, I've got to fix that, hold a little bit further down and match those 2 sticks. Well, we need a better fix really than that. And so aluminous tape, some kind of tape, doesn't have to be this, but this stuff works really well. If I put that on my practice pad, then all of a sudden then I've got a visual representation so I can see when I'm physically hitting the wrong spot, but I'm going to feel the difference. That's quite thick tape, so if I'm playing and I start to come too far back, I can feel the difference in the rebound. By doing this, all of a sudden your students or you then can physically see straight away if you're not hitting the middle of the head. The 5th and final mistake, perhaps the most difficult one to fix, is bad interpretation. Interpretation is how perfectly you can play all of the rhythms needed to be able to master this instrument. Now, if I got a computer to play 16th notes and then 32nd notes and 64th notes, it would do it perfectly because it's really good at math. For us as drummers, the fastest way for us to learn is to get in a line with other people who are more experienced than us, who've got a better rhythmic understanding, and eventually through playing it with them, we start to gain that understanding ourselves. However, that can take months, years, lifetimes. We want to fast track that. So for you guys who've got Apple devices, I've created an app called Drumr, which we're going to use right now, which is perfect for fixing audio interpretation issues. For you Android users, this isn't on Android, but I'll come back around in a couple of minutes and give you at least something to go away and use to fix your interpretation. So if you look at the app, you can see straight away, look, we've got masses and masses and masses of exercises for you to go and try and practice. Now, in relation to interpretation, if I take 16th note timing exercise, which is a standard exercise a lot of drummers would learn, if I press play here, you can see we get a little count in, and we get this nice little pattern of 16th notes and then a broken 16th note. So I'm going to get 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E, a 2E, a 3E, a 4E, a stop. Now, if I'm without an app, how do I know if I'm playing this part perfect, or maybe I'm going, or I don't? Right, so this app plays it absolutely perfect for you. It's a marching snare drum. So what I most often do is I have my headphones on pretty loud enough so I can't in my practice pad. I play along and then I start to play it perfectly. So we lock in with it. Two, three, four. Now, there's obviously much more difficult exercises in this app. If I go, let's just go to a diddle exercise. So here we go. 16th note diddle number 2. So this exercise, I could just press play and we could get the whole of the exercise, get a count in, and then we get dug, dug, dug. Very standard exercise. But those diddles that you can hear there, that's them being played perfectly. That's what we want to attain. So if instead I just go and say, right, I want to just loop one bar, Not the first bar, that's no good. Let's say we're going to loop this bar here. Now I've got a reference for those little 6-stroke rolls. And so it's useful for many, many other things, but just for interpretation alone, this app is well worth the money, and it's actually free for quite a lot of the stuff that you can see on here. Okay, Android users, I need to give you something. I can't leave you hanging there, right? So the way that I used to practice this before I created this app and before I had any kind of Apple devices was I would go to a metronome. In this case, I've got Pro Metronome. I've set it up to 394 in this case. I just want something real fast so that I can basically have a cowbell sound a little bit or close enough to a snare drum that I can lock in with it. So I'm going to try and lock in as if someone is on my drum now going, and I'm going to try and play in time with them. So same exercise. So I'm trying to lock in. No, 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 no. And for me, that was the way I used to practice before I had anything like Drumr to be able to really refine my interpretation. If you guys think of any other mistakes that you see drummers making all the time, let us know in the comments below. If any of you guys are really into improving on marching snare drum, be sure to go check out my course. It's called Snare Drum Essentials. It's got everything you could ever need from beginner all the way through to advanced. Go check that out. For everybody else, I'll see you again real soon. Thanks for watching.